From stealing cars to owning them. This is her story. Let's go on an adventure. Welcome back to Capricious Conversations. Thank you for joining us today. And thank you again, Sarah, for being here and telling us about your story. I know that this probably can't be, like, super easy of a story to tell, you know? Just because there's, like, so much of the stuff that you went through was so hard and so painful. Like, how do you feel about kind of rehashing that and talking about it?
You know, some of it God has really given me the grace just to be able to tell, and some of it is really like there's some things that I'm not, you know, gonna say because I'm not yet to that point, like to where I can just be like, but you know, there is just, I feel like God has rescued me and delivered me to be able to tell my story. So telling it is kind of like empowering and freeing, and it also gives me a sense of purpose and just the purpose to give him the glory, you know, like, so.
Well, and tell other people that, like, who are where you were, that, like, there's hope. Because, like, so when we last left off, you had just gotten to California for the second time. You'd stolen a dude's car. And driven out there with, like, no money. Did you, like, have a plan, or was your, like, whole idea just to go see this friend of yours?
I just wanted to be with my friend. There was just a genuineness about him, like, you know, how he had grown up and the people he had grown up with, like, they had your back, like, type of thing, you know? And that kind of, like, drew me in, I guess, so.
So you were telling me there was, like, a point when you were in California where, maybe, I think you, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you were, like, in jail where you, like, you kind of realized how disingenuous you had been yourself, and so you like got to complain about that.
Yeah, when I was young, like, even in school, like, I started lying about, like, who I was, like, about where I was from, about who my parents, like, just about my family members. Like, I made up a whole different story, like, because I didn't like who I was, I hated who I was, and I didn't want to be that person, so I made up another person, you know. And I had lived that life from 5th grade to, you know, 20, 21, 22, and finally I went to jail, and I spent 6 months in county jail, and that was, like, the best time in my whole life. And so during that time, God freed me from some stuff. Like, it says in the Bible, like, you know, when the Israelites are getting brought out of Egypt and going through the wilderness, like, and then they're going into the promised land, God says, like, you're going to defeat your enemies little by little. And I feel like that's how God has been working in my life, like, little by little. And so the first thing was he needed to free me from that lying spirit, that false person that I had created. So I just all of a sudden started telling people, like, this is who I really am. Like, I'm not Mexican. I don't have these type of parents. I'm not from this place. Like, I'm from Colorado. Like, I'm my parents are white, you know, and, like.
You know what's so funny about that, though, is, like, I grew up with you, dude, and I didn't know you weren't Mexican. How did you get to Victory Outreach?
Okay, so the friend that I went out there with, I ended up living with his family. So anyways, we ran crazy for about, like, 2 years almost, you know, and I had went in and out of jail, and you know, but they had still, like, when I got out, I could go live with them, type of thing. And
that's amazing.
That's
love, man.
Yeah, and I really got close with their family, you know, and so it was just kind of crazy. I ended up going to jail when I did that 6 months with that prison term in county. When I got out, I've heard about this program called the Walter Hoving Home. And this was another, like, discipleship home, another faith-based program, you know, to help people who had been in drugs and everything. So they're the ones who picked me up from jail the second time. And so I went with them, and then I stayed with them for, like, 2 weeks. Yeah, like, or maybe, like, a month. I can't remember if it was 2 weeks or 2 months. So anyways, I stayed with them. I did really good. Like, I just loved being in, like, I loved being in worship. I loved being in prayer. I loved being, you know, around people who loved God. Like, it was just an amazing place to be in.
And people who loved you, too.
Yeah.
To, like, see you succeed.
Yeah. But then I started talking to my friend, and you know, and he was like in this place. It was just crazy. And so I ended up leaving one day, like, and I don't know what happened, but like my brain just shut off, like everything shut off, and I just wanted to leave. So I left, and I went to where he was at. And so anyways, some stuff like seriously went down. Like he shot at some people, like it was just, yeah. And even though like I was back in drugs and doing all this stuff, like I was still praying for him and just like declaring within his life that God was gonna bring him out of this, you know.
Yeah. And
he ended up getting self-defense, and all the charges dropped and freed. Yeah,
that's amazing.
On probation. So during that time, it's kind of crazy because this thing just popped in my mind, and so to kind of like bring everything together. But during that time, I was living in a hotel. You know, he got out, and I was living in this hotel, and I was like literally robbing people like every day. Like I had this scam, and I would literally like rob people every single day, you know, and not like with guns or anything, but I would just take these people's money and leave somehow. And I mean, I was robbing people like every day, and it was seriously dangerous, and it was just crazy. So my friend's brother, which is like my brother now, he is the first one who went into like Victory Outreach. So as my brother went into that program, I got into another relationship. And this one was not really abusive. Like this one was, he really did care for me, you know, and he wanted to see me sober, but he couldn't get sober himself, and we kind of just kept falling back and back and back into the same cycle. Yeah. So we were together for about a year, and I remember like we went, like he was a drug dealer, so it was just like really, really bad, because I mean they were constantly available. Like I never was out of drugs, like, you know. And yeah, it was really bad. And so
which if you're trying to get sober does
not help. Yeah. So so throughout that year, you know, it was what it was. And anyways, but at the end of that year, I had this urge to want to go see my friend's brother, like, you know, my who I call my brother, like, because we're just really close. And and I just wanted to go see him. So I talked to his sister. She told me that he was in this program in Victory Outreach, you know, and I wanted to go see him. So she was like, well, come to church with us, you know. And so
wow, that's cool.
I went to church to go see him, and it was just so amazing. And so then like it got to this point between me and this guy that I was in a relationship with, and it just got to the point where I literally was like losing my mind. I was literally like losing my mind and going crazy and just losing focus on reality. Like what was reality? I didn't know. I remember like I would just be getting high all the time, and I would stay stuck in my room, and I would hear trumpets, and I would think that like God's, like, Jesus is coming back, like he's coming back, like, and I would hear trumpets, or I would hear gunshots, or I would hear people fighting or yelling or something. And
it seriously tripping.
Yeah, seriously tripping. And so anyway, it was like me and my ex had went to church, but then we just kept going, like we kept getting high, and we just it was just really crazy. And I feel like because I was going to church, like there was so much more conviction on my life, like, you know, like, what are you doing, you know. And so anyways, there was just this one night where I was laying down, and there's like this, I had gotten high, but it was like I couldn't really get high. It was weird. But I had relapsed, and I had gotten high, and like it was like I wasn't high, but there was just this pressure right here in my head, like it was so severe. And so I was laying down, and there was like this turning in my spirit, like, you need to go, like. And so I texted my friend Denise, and I was like, I think I want to go into the program. And she was like, so I texted her, and then something, like, right when I put the phone down, I felt my spirit like turn again, and it was just like turning, and it was like, you need to go now. And I was like, and like I got this text back, and she was like, I'll come pick you up right now.
That's awesome.
And I was like, okay. So I went into the program, that night I left, and like my boyfriend was crying, and he was like crying because I was leaving, and but I was just like, dude, I cannot stay here right now. Like my heart wouldn't let me. Yeah, like I would have literally, like, I feel like I would have lost my mind, and I just would have lost everything. And so I went into the program, and I stayed there for like 2 weeks. It was awesome. It was amazing. And then I got just like, I was hung up on him, you know, and like, where's he at? Why isn't he coming to church to see me? Like all this kind of stuff. So then I left. I ended up getting high again, and it just broke us. Like we just broke apart. Like he couldn't be around me anymore because I was just losing my mind, because I was going back from truth to lies, like you know, from freedom to deception, like all this kind of stuff. And so then he left me for another girl, and that broke me. Like I was like, what the heck? Like, and I remember just being at his uncle's house, and because his uncle was letting me stay there, and it was like a week and a half where I just went through this time where I went through this time of just like, I wanted to be free, but I didn't know how to be free.
Yeah.
You know, and so, but I knew that God could free me. And like suddenly one day it just like hit me. It was like a light went off in me, and like I got up and I was like, you know what, Satan, like you're defeated. Like you are no longer like victorious in my life. Like I am free. Like, and just I was like walking back, and I was just back and forth in this apartment, and I was just like declaring that he was defeated in my life. Like, and so, you know, and then at the end of that week and a half, like my mom had bought me an airplane ticket. I was still struggling with getting high, but I just kept going back and writing, you know, the Bible out, and he just delivered me. That's what I kept doing, and I just kept crying out to God, because no matter what you've done, and no matter how far you've gone, you've never gone too far. Never gone too far. Like he loves you so much. And so yeah, and so anyways, I came back out here, and for stealing the car and for having like stealing IDs from here, I had warrants, and so I ended up turning myself in. And so I stayed in there about 3 months, and all the felonies got dropped.
Wow, that's amazing.
All the felonies got dropped. Now I've been sober for 2 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I remember when you first came back, and you came to like Wednesday night prayer or something like that, and I was like, I didn't even recognize you when you first walked in, because it had been like
a long time.
I don't even know, dude. It was probably like 6 years or something since I had seen you.
Yeah, a long time.
And it was like your whole demeanor was different. Like,
yeah.
Like you came back with a purpose.
Yeah. And
just to see like the way that God has totally, completely changed your life. Like, you're not the same person that I grew up with.
Yeah.
You know, which is, I think God's like totally brought you back to the Sarah that you were always meant to be. You know, like one who is free and who is sober and who's not held down by those things, and who's not, you know, who's not always running away from her problems. Like you've like turning yourself in, dude. Like you've faced so many of those things and just like totally owned up to it.
Yeah.
And God has totally changed you. And like, what was it, 3 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
You bought your first car, like actually bought a car.
Yeah, so, and, well, yeah, it's been like a month, maybe and a half now, I think. I bought it, and then I had to get my license. So I had to do a lot of things to get my license. Because I had so many tickets from this place and that place, and I had to pay off all kinds of tickets. But, you know, it was like just step by step, I had to just take care of those things. And finally, it's like a long, and sometimes you look at something like, okay, it's a long list of steps at first, and you're like, oh, I can't do that, it's going to take forever. But if you just take one step at a time and one step at a time and just knock that off and knock this off, you know, you're going to get down to 3 steps and then 2 steps and then 1 step, and you're finally
And you're kind of getting to that point, right? So you're almost done with probation.
Yeah, I'm almost done with, I've been on probation now for 2 years, and I'll be done in August.
That's awesome.
And that's the first time I've ever completed probation, like, ever in my whole life. Awesome. And I've been on it a lot.
And you're going back to school, and, like...
Yeah.
I'm just so proud of you, because, like, you've totally revolutionized yourself, and that's awesome. Like, you finally got to the point where you were like, this ain't me, you know?
Yeah. And I think, like... like that's what my dad says, like, I'm so proud of you, you did it, but I didn't do it, like God did it, you know, and God freed me. You know, I quit smoking now. I've never quit smoking, and I quit smoking now, and I haven't smoked a cigarette for like a month and a week or something, and I've been off the patch because I use the patches, and I've been off the patch for about a week.
That's so cool.
That's the first time ever since I was like 12.
So I definitely want to hear from you guys. Like, if you've got friends that you think could benefit from hearing Sarah's story, I'm going to put a link to Victory Outreach in the description and maybe a couple other programs. But, like, if you know somebody who needs to hear this, like, seriously, share this with them, because there is hope. There's a way out, you know. It's not terminal. Like we've said before, like, failure isn't terminal. Just because you've fallen down and you've failed in one area, maybe you've done it like 1.5 million times.
Doesn't matter.
There's still redemption and there's still freedom for you. And so I just, connect with us. Tell me your stories, and also, like, share this with people that you know need to hear it. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Let's go on an adventure.